That's a picture of the father of Northern Ireland signing the Solemn League and Covenant in September 1912. And his party, the Unionist Party, has been in power in this country ever since the country's government was formed over 40 years ago. We are now in their headquarters, the Unionist Hall in Belfast. It was the power of religion which created Northern Ireland, and it's the power of religion which has been threatening ever since to tear the country in half. I suppose if you really wanted to say in a single phrase the difference between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom, you could say quite simply that Northern Ireland is a Christian country. For here, Christianity is not something which only comes into a man's life at baptism, marriage, and death. Here it pervades every corner of his life every day. Here a man is either a Protestant or a Catholic. He is either with us or with them. And he does not only profess his faith, he practices it. This is still a country of church-goers. On Sundays, the population of Northern Ireland declares its faith and goes to church. The Protestants number about 2/3 of the population, and church attendance amongst them is about 6 times as high as it is in England. The other third of the population is Roman Catholic, and over 90% of all of them attend the morning Mass. On Sunday mornings, everyone can see clearly just who is with us and who is with them. For over here, religion is a very quick and almost infallible way of classifying a man. Know his religion, and you know at once his political loyalties, the manner of his education, and his hopes not only for the next world, but for this one also. There are many people here, perhaps too many, who write the simple equation in their minds. Religion equals politics equals character. Almost to a man, the Protestants vote Unionists. That is, they vote for the continuation of the link with the United Kingdom. Almost to a man, the Catholics vote Nationalists. That is, they cry for a united Ireland. They do not believe that this state or government of Northern Ireland should exist at all. The Catholics complain of discrimination, that they always have to take second place for jobs and for homes. The Protestants complain that the Catholics bring into the world families far larger than they can ever hope to support, and that if things were left as they are, then the Catholics would simply first outbreed the Protestants and then outvote them. Vote them first out of office and then out of the United Kingdom. This indeed would have happened by now, but for one thing, the high Catholic rate of emigration. The Catholics say that it's their status as second-class citizens, that it's the government policy of apartheid which forces them to leave the country of their birth. The Protestants reply that either there is no discrimination, it's a figment of the Catholic imagination, or else, if there is, it's only self-preservation after all, that the government would be quite mad not to look after their own. And the indoctrination of difference begins early. You are made very much aware of which side you're on at 5 years old. Then the Catholic will begin his life at an all-Catholic school, taught by all-Catholic teachers and surrounded by all-Catholic playmates. The Protestant child goes to the state school, and except here and there in the remotest of country areas, there will not be a Catholic amongst his fellows. The Catholic children will leave school with a knowledge of Irish history and a loyalty to the Holy Roman Catholic Church, and particularly as represented by the Catholic state of Eire. To them, the men who fought the British with such wild cunning are heroes still. The Protestant children will have been taught history from an English point of view. They will be taught as the descendants of those sturdy settlers who came out to the plantations in the late 16th century to hold and cultivate this land against the wild and uncouth tribal chiefs, who suffered the massacres of 1641 and who fought the Jacobites at the Battle of the Boyne. So it's probably in the schools that they learn to represent the other side in slogans. Slogans which are to be found in towns and villages all over Ulster, and particularly in Belfast. It isn't the teachers who teach them to write these rude words on the walls, but they probably learn the habit from the older children who hear their parents talking. But except in the minds of the old, the violence has died down and almost out. There is more willingness to live and let live, but the prejudices and the fears and the dark suspicions remain. the suspicions of too many people with long memories and no vision, and far too little ability to compromise. And so, in separation and mistrust, the two sides build up their images of each other. Distorted images, but images with just enough truth to make them credible. Fellow citizens who seem at times to be bent only on misunderstanding each other. At worst, the Catholics appear to Protestants as being people loaded with treachery, likely to desert the country in the time of greatest need. People who, if they would not actually murder to get rid of the Protestant government, would at least sympathize with the murderers. And indeed, between 1957 and 1961, 19 Northern Irish people died through what might be called political assassination. And to the Catholics, the Protestants appear as a kind of self-imposed master race, which maintains itself in undue power by gerrymandering critical local elections and by sustaining a police state. It is true that the police in Northern Ireland can arrest and imprison without trial. They can search either persons or premises without warrant. And at any one time between 1957 and 1961, there were about 150 prisoners who might have been described by a stretch of the imagination as political prisoners. There are none now. The last of them were released around 3 years ago when the border tensions eased. One would like to think that all this mistrust and suspicion was the product of battles and struggles long since over, perpetuated by the old only and dying in the memory. That as the young grow up, they will grow up at least as neighbors and not as enemies. And there is one educational institution in Belfast where Protestants and Catholics do go together. They go there, moreover, at the time when boy meets girl. And so we went there too, and as a kind of comment and summary on our Northern Ireland tour, and an illumination of this problem which dominates the life in Northern Ireland, we asked them questions about mixed marriage, remembering here that mixed marriage is not a marriage between Muslim and Jew. It's not a marriage between black and white. It's a marriage between two Christian people who may have been born within a mile of each other. And this is what they say.
I think I would marry a Roman Catholic, but I certainly wouldn't sign any document which said what religion I had to bring my children up in.
I don't think I would marry a Roman Catholic because I think there are enough strains in marriage already, and a difference, a major difference such as this would cause another strain which would be intolerable.
No, I definitely wouldn't marry a Protestant. I think it's mainly because of a sort of a selfish motive in that I feel that I wouldn't be able to cope with the future responsibilities.
Well, I wouldn't consciously seek out or avoid Protestants as boyfriends, but if I felt that through normal social contact I had fallen for a Protestant boy and felt that he was the only man for me, I would marry him, provided that he would fulfill the conditions required by the Catholic Church, namely that we would be married in the Catholic Church and that the children would all be brought up as Catholics.
Religion is a very ephemeral and unimportant thing. Personal relationships are what your life is based on. I certainly would not allow any religious teaching to interfere with my inclinations in this or in any other matter.
I don't think I would marry a Protestant unless he were prepared to meet with the conditions laid down by the Catholic Church, and particularly in the question of morality, because the Protestant attitude towards artificial birth control seems to be that individually they agree with it, whereas the Catholics are bound to disagree with it.
Yes, I would be prepared, I think, to marry a Roman Catholic. I think a lot of the difficulties arise from social prejudice and that one must be prepared to overcome these.
I would certainly marry a Protestant. I don't think religion should come into the question of marriage, and I think that mixed marriages broaden the outlook of the children.
Of course I would marry a Protestant, and I don't see that medieval views and ideals should interfere with the way in which I think or live today.
How much does the thought that you would not marry a member of the opposite religion enter into your daily life?
Well, I'd say it would enter into my daily life to the extent that I would avoid at possibly any cost becoming so involved with the Protestant that I would have to take the ultimate decision of whether I should or should not marry them.
You must, in the course of your life here, meet and become fond of some Protestant girls. How do you know when to stop?
Well, this is where the difficulty arises. This is why I stop whenever I feel that such a situation may arrive. It hasn't so far, and I hope that it doesn't arrive, because nobody wants a broken home, and whereas a Protestant may feel that they have the right, through religion or otherwise, to divorce, a Catholic has burned his boat, so to speak, and he can't make any compromises in this line.
When you meet a non-Catholic, you don't automatically say to yourself, well, he's a non-Catholic and I'm a Catholic, therefore we're basically different. You really regard him as another human being, and you meet him on that level rather than on the level of religion.
But this being so, you may get very, very fond of him. Now, how do you know when to stop? Because you say you would not marry a Protestant.
Yes. Well, I think that forewarned is really forearmed. And if you realise the difficulties that are involved in a marriage, if the question of such a marriage arose, you therefore will not allow yourself to get emotionally involved. I mean, let's face it, there are enough Catholics around, I presume, to go around us all.
Does your strong adherence to your Catholic views mean that you've thrown out the idea of romantic love?
I think I have, yes.
Well, I think that shows the strength of the religious difference here, even amongst the young and the best educated, and in the place where the opinion is said to be the most liberal. It seems that for some time to come, Christianity is going to divide rather than unite Northern Ireland. Good night.